Revenge is an emission of pain. If he is weaker, spare him. If he is stronger, spare yourself. Seneca. Revenge is an admission of pain that someone hurt you so badly you can't let it go. And you're wasting your time pursuing them. They're moving on with their life. They've forgotten about it. I think there's a quote uh, that the tree remembers what the axe forgets. So the axe is that person. They hurt you. They moved on. They're chopping down other trees. They forgot about you, but it ruined your life. If he is weaker, spare him. So if you're the stronger person situation, you're the boss and they're the subordinate, etc. Just spare the person. Why make their life and your life harder? Why create karma if you don't have to take revenge? Even though you could, even though it's within your right, within our society, you would be right. What's the point of it all? You're just causing more suffering for everyone involved. And vice versa, if he is stronger, spare yourself. This is the practical point. If you're the subordinate, they're the boss, you going up against them is probably not going to end up well for you. So why go after them if it's just going to cause problems for yourself? Spare yourself. It's gonna, they have all the leverage and you don't. And that's the paradox of this quote. The revenge element is not the Tao. It's not effortless action. You're forcing the action. You should only do what needs to be done and nothing more. Revenge is an extra action. I think JFK, where it's like, forgive your enemies, but don't forget their names. And I kind of take that approach. I'm willing to forgive but not forget. You have to have that blacklist. You can't keep allowing the same person to hurt you. So it's like you can forgive them for their action, they know not what they do, sort of thing, but you can't keep allowing them to hurt you. You have to create some space away from them. You have to not allow the situation to arise again. So the revenge is an additional action you don't absolutely have to take. It's kind of like if someone murdered your son or something like that, and in court you blast them with a gun, and then now you're in jail. You've made your life harder than it has to be. You've caused additional pain to that person. Now the mother and father of that murderer have more to grieve. It's the revenge. It's like the old Bible saying, an eye for the eye makes the whole world blind. And I know the gangs do the same thing. Like a gang member gets shot, and then they go into gang terror, shoot three more, and then they come back and shoot 10 more. It's kind of like the more you try to get revenge, it doesn't end. You have to kind of be the bigger person at a certain point. And I've experienced that in my own life. This guy, like, he slashed my parents' tires, and I wanted to like go like throw a brick through his window of his car, but then it was like, then my parents, something might happen to them again, right? Like I'm just gonna keep this cycle going, and so I kind of just had to accept what happened, and like they can feel like they won, but I was trying to prevent more problems from my parents. It was kind of like I could, then where does it end? Maybe I'm like gonna go murder that guy at some point because it goes too far. So it's kind of like it can keep going. Before you know it, you're in a position where you keep having to up the ante and it gets completely out of control. It's kind of like wars and that sort of thing too, where it's like the pride, the ego, there's other people watching, you don't want to look weak. Before you know it, it's gotten to a place you never thought, from a very small thing. And you see this a lot in road rage where someone cuts someone off, and before you know it, someone's getting shot, right? Because someone's coming up to the car. You don't want to escalate things unnecessarily. And that's what the revenge does. And even with the person weaker than you, right? Because spare the person weaker, because maybe that subordinate that you screwed over is going to have power over your life. And that happened to me, actually. I remember this manager. She was an absolute terror and kind of ruined my life in a lot of way for a year or so. And just a completely bad person with no morals, really. And I remember she was out of a job 10 years later, and she finds me on LinkedIn and wants to apply for the position. But I had this quote in mind, if they're weaker, spare them. So I'm like, go ahead and apply, right? And she applied, and but I did confront her. I said something like, I remember what happened, and it's water under the bridge at this point, but I just wanted to kind of confront that. And she, even in that moment, such a narcissist, couldn't admit to fall. Oh no, it was just a tough time. Like she couldn't. I don't think she necessarily liked me saying that, because I was kind of trying to show him, I'll help you apply, but I'm not I'm not for you necessarily, right? Later in the process, she hadn't heard back and she IM'd me on LinkedIn of like, oh, can have you heard anything? And you talk to the hiring manager and or talk to this. And I just said, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I'm sure they'll let you know once the outcome is decided. And I think she was kind of butthurt. She never responded to me after. Like she saw what I was saying. Like I'm not going to bar you from applying to a job. I'm not going to blacklist you, but because of what you did, I'm not going to help you either. Right? I'd not take. This is a great chance to take revenge. I could have said. I could have went to my hiring manager and my recruiting team and say, "Hey, this person applies like blacklist, and they're absolutely terrible." She has kids like me, and even though she's a terrible person, it's not like a I felt like she wasn't malicious. It's just she's a terrible person because she's caught in corporate culture and American culture. She has a spiritual level of zero. It's she doesn't know what she's doing to other people necessarily. And she is good at her job. So I was like, if she wants to apply, it's fine. It's not at the end of the day, my job is going to be the same whether she's there or not. The recruiter talked to me and he was like, oh, we're going with someone else. She didn't have the right experience, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. Thanks. Explanation mark. And I could tell he was surprised that like I kind of didn't push for her. I didn't say, oh, well, why? I didn't fight for her. You wrong. So and in a way too, the revenge is a mission of pain. If I was to screw her over and she's not supposed to get the job and somehow she finds out or this and that, I don't want to continue the back and forth with us. And by not interfering with her life, I think there's a Zen koan that says like never interfere with someone else's work. And I take that as spiritual work or karmic path. I'm not here to create more karma for her. She has kids at home. If she's strong enough to get the job, then she should be able to support her family. I'm not going to mess with someone's livelihood. With karma, there's a thing about you get rewarded for the right action, whether you did it for the right reason or not. Sadhguru talks about this, and I agree. Sometimes you spare somebody not because of the right reason, but you still spare them. It's kind of the whole thing of you step on someone's shoe and hurt their toe. You didn't mean to, but you still hurt their toe. You still did a wrong action, even though the intent wasn't to do so. You still did the wrong action, but the right action is also there where you accidentally do the right action. I have a good example in my personal life where me and my ex-wife were fighting, in the divorce proceeding. Her mom had kind of doing something borderline illegal, and I remember I wanted to report that, just kind of like drop a nuclear bomb, like it's war. And I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, her mother never did anything wrong to you. And then that stuck with me. But also, I thought about it for 2 or 3 days. Like, do I want to take this action? I'm in my right, I think, to kind of like it's war. It's all is fair in love and war. But I didn't do it, and the reason I didn't do it was two reasons. One, she didn't do anything wrong. I kind of felt bad to like rope her into this. And then two, it was like my ex-wife has three sisters. I didn't want them coming after me about it and being like I'm going to upset this whole family of people and their extended family. It was going to cause these ripples. And I felt like I was rewarded for not taking that action. Things got better in my life overall, but I didn't really do it for the right reasons. I really should have not done it because it was the wrong thing to do, but I was still karmically rewarded because I did the right action at the end of it. The calculation wasn't right, but I did the right action. That's what's interesting, I think, about karma. It's the end result action at the end of the day that matters because did you affect other people or not? And there's an idea too with karma where there's thought forms, speech, and action. And they said like action's the first thing you need to work on. Don't take wrong action. And then the second thing, wrong speech. And the third thing is the thought forms, because often you might not be speaking badly about somebody. You might not be doing something bad to somebody, but you're thinking bad things. And that's like an energetic thing. It's still karma with thinking negative things or wishing someone unwell or having those angry thoughts. It's like there's been studies where water will have crystalline formations in its atoms based on the frequency. So if someone's talking angrily, something ugly forms, and if someone's talking nicely, something nice forms. They've done it with plants, like talking nicely to a plant will grow better, talking meanly to a plant, it will not grow as well. So there's like a science on that. So I think most people with karma and revenge and all this stuff, they're only thinking about speech and actions. They forget about the thought forms. Your thoughts are kind of an action, and it can turn into something because your thought, if you keep thinking about something, maybe it becomes real. Maybe you start speaking about it. Maybe you start actually taking action. That's the hardest part. That's what the thoughts can be very intrusive. You think you're this good person, but these little thoughts sneak in about doing bad things. Even that thing with, me wanting to bust my mother-in-law was something that was a thought form, right? It wasn't much, but it could turn into something. It could start speaking or taking action. So that's the thing. You really have to nip those thought forms in the bud, because that revenge starts with a thought. It's like a snowball effect. The thought turns into speech, and the speech turns into action. There's a quote: watch your thoughts for they become words. Watch your words for they become actions. Watch your actions for they become habits. Watch your habits before they become your character. Watch your character for it becomes destiny. What we think we become. That's my issue with these thought forms. It starts as a thought, it starts as a spark. That's all it takes to lead to a forest fire. It starts growing. So if you can stop it at that spark, and that's what I accomplished in that moment. That was a big moment for me, that I to be able to beat the thought form, that space between your reptile brain and reaction, to be able to stop that forward motion, to stop that snowball effect, so powerful. Because if you start thinking it, you got to stop it then. You got to really get away from that, because it crescendos, it moves forward, it gets stronger, it reverberates. You start building that negative frequency. And I think Joe Rogan talks about this, where on his DMT trip, he started having angry, negative thoughts, and all the monsters started coming. And then when he started having good thoughts, and it was all happy around him. And I do believe that the thought is the source, right? It's, anything created in this world, even your phone, these buildings, all this was a thought in someone's head before it was manifested. The manifestation is thought forms. Everything that's created by humans out here was a thought form. So, even the animals, the beavers are creating a dam. It's a thought form. They had to think about what they're doing. For them, a little more instinctual, right? But for us humans, especially, the thought form is the foundation to build everything else upon. Like, it's like a pyramid. It's the first level, and then you start building from there. So you want to be sure you're building from a foundation of a positive thought, not a negative one.